Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Wednesday, June the 20th. Well, the big news today is that Donald Trump says he's going to sign an executive order that will put an end to the separation of children from their families at the border. These would be immigrants who are trying to enter the United States, many of them seeking asylum, which is legal and is not a crime under American law. Tom Cotton, the meanest senator in the United States Senate, was with Trump when he announced this, and he kind of grudgingly said, yes, we want to keep families together, in detention, of course, but Cotton continues to put forward the unsubstantiated claim that a lot of these children are just being used as shields for criminals. Well, what the Trump decision to sign this executive order does is an absolute admission of the number of lies told by members of his administration and members of his party, including the Arkansas Republican Party Chair Doyle Webb yesterday, who's blamed this all on the Democrats and said only legislation could solve the problem, that the president's hands were tied, couldn't do anything about it. Well, he's doing something about it. There's still a lot of issues to worry about. They're talking about using the Little Rock Air Force Base perhaps as a detention facility site for immigrant children and families. Clark Tucker, the Democratic candidate for 2nd District Congress, says he doesn't want that facility here. Asa Hutchinson, who's been silent on this matter for weeks, this has been going on for a couple of months, finally said today, well, putting families together might be a good thing. Well, yes, indeed. He could do some things, too, about the situation going forward. He could say no to sending National Guard troops to the border. 9 governors have done that. A couple of them Republicans. He could also say if Arkansas is to receive children, we should have assurances that they come with papers that absolutely show they have connections and numbers to get in touch with parents somewhere, somehow. I think all this was precipitated by the news breaking last night that they've discovered baby concentration camps in Texas. Yes, they've been putting tiny babies in child care facilities without their parents. It raised the image, perhaps, of a pregnant woman in the United States having a child and having a newborn ripped from her. These were not pretty sights, and even Donald Trump, bad as he is, finally recognized the problem. Another Arkansan made headlines yesterday. Steve Womack, the 3rd District Republican congressman, he announced a Republican budget plan for the House. He's a House Budget Committee chair. He says it'll cut the deficits and put the U.S. Books in order. Well, it's a disaster if it happens. He didn't say that the reason we have such a growing deficit is because of the tax cuts for millionaires. He also didn't talk much about the devastating impact that the budget would have on real people, particularly in a poor state like Arkansas. It would be millions, billions actually, in cuts in Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. Never mind the old, the sick, and the poor. They don't count for much in Steve Womack's estimation of what's good for America. The state Senate yesterday met and adopted a new set of amended ethics rules supposed to require more disclosure by members and perhaps reduce some of the unethical behavior that's become rampant in that body. They've had ethics rules before and they didn't have much effect. What we need are state laws that apply both to the Senate and the House, that are enforced independently, not by the Senate itself, certainly not by a partisan control committee, and that has some real teeth in it, and that you have an ethics commission with some investigative powers. I don't think the legislature has the heart to go quite that far. News out of Canada has some relationship to Arkansas. They've legalized marijuana. Totally, not just for medical purposes. They say it'll be available in 12 weeks. Compare this with Arkansas, where we're getting on 2 years since voters approved medical marijuana, and we're a long way from seeing any marijuana grown and reaching any 6 people as the law demanded. People who are circulating petitions for some other ballot initiatives, such as on casinos, say the question they get most often is, when can I sign something for legalizing marijuana? Hasten the day, because the medical marijuana thing has been nothing but a mess. The Capital Zoning District Commission, which regulates the use of property around the governor's mansion and the capital, both historic neighborhoods, is now looking at rules that would allow it to permit and regulate Airbnb and other home rental operations. Some people are complaining they're not made to follow some of the same rules that other home use businesses do, and so they're going to talk about a rule-making procedure. The Airbnb people won't like it, I'm sure. If you haven't been keeping up with the news, those Trump tariffs are really doing great for Arkansas. They're hammering Arkansas farmers. The prices of soybeans, a huge crop here, has been dropping down because of the tariffs, and farmers are complaining mightily. It's certainly easy to be sympathetic with them, less so since so many of them supported Donald Trump, the guy that's visiting this hardship on them. And here's a piece of dining advice for you. If you spent the last few weeks talking what a great thing it is to hassle and harass and separate immigrant families at the border, right after you go on TV and have a big news conference talking about how it's the Democrats' fault, not Donald Trump's, and that we're doing the right thing by tearing up these immigrant families, Don't go out to eat at a Mexican restaurant. That's what Kirsten Nielsen did last night in Washington, D.C. She's a Homeland Security Secretary, and she got heckled for her trouble. Maybe save the Mexican meal for another night. Keep resisting. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back later, perhaps not tomorrow. I've got another engagement.